Coming up on Folks, we visit Louisiana State University in Baton Rouge on the occasion of the first Black alumni reunion and meet A.P. Tureaud Jr., the first Black to enroll as an undergraduate at LSU. We also visit the office of a prominent plastic surgeon in New Orleans who says that Blacks are seeking cosmetic surgery in unprecedented numbers. All this and more on today's edition of Folks. Hello everyone and welcome to Folks. I'm Sonya Masingale. It was the best of times because it seemed that Black Americans were finally coming into their own as full citizens of the United States. It was the worst of times for those who were actually fighting the desegregation battles. But for the most part, the 1950s was a time that slowly but surely saw the opening of doors for Black Americans. One such Black American was Alexander P. Tureaud Jr., son of the well-known civil rights lawyer who became the first Black to enroll as an undergraduate at LSU. For the first time in 35 years, Tureaud was invited to share his experiences publicly. The occasion was the first Black alumni reunion at LSU. A casual visitor to the Baton Rouge campus of LSU would observe students of all races going to classes together in a calm academic environment. But in 1953, when Alexander P. Tureaud Jr., son of the famous civil rights lawyer, became the first Black undergraduate, there was an entirely different atmosphere.
It was a time that left an indelible impression upon me as a 17-year-old. And it has been incredible to come back here and to hear the Chancellor and representatives from the Mayor's office and the Governor's office and the Alumni office, and to meet people in the academic schools, and to meet former graduates, lawyers, doctors, businessmen, teachers, chemists, engineers. I stand in amazement, in utter amazement.
This reunion of Black alumni at LSU is the first of its kind. This was also Tureaud's first opportunity to speak publicly about his experiences at LSU 35 years ago.
My father was a very active civil rights lawyer who spent all of his life challenging, building, supporting, changing the world that I lived in, the world of Louisiana and this region. He did an awful lot because he wanted to. He was an energetic man. He was a simple man. We lived an enriched life in New Orleans. We were not rich. My father was not paid for a lot of the work that he did, and he didn't want to be because there was no one to pay him. But he did receive payment. And he did receive the satisfaction for spending his life in a way that has impressed me as an adult. As a child, he was my father. As an adult, he has left a legacy that overwhelms me.
It was, as you can see here, a very emotional occasion for the first Black LSU alumni to gather for the first time to share their collective history at LSU. We spoke to Tureaud about his memories of 1953. What was it like at the tender age of 17 to be exposed to all of the barriers and the hatred that you had to confront here at LSU?
The interesting thing about all of this is I was not recruited by my father or the NAACP to challenge the undergraduate division at LSU. I selected it. Now, if your father's a lawyer and a civil rights lawyer and you volunteer, you've got a homemade case, but I didn't, that wasn't my point, to to desegregate the school. I felt I could get the best education at LSU. And I was really interested in coming and being a regular student. The other thing you have to understand is the kind of family I came from. My father was the only black lawyer in the state for almost 19 years. He was active throughout the Eastern Seaboard. He had been to school at Howard University. My mother was a Howard graduate. We traveled all the time. We weren't rich, we were enriched. We didn't have a whole lot of money, but we had all these activities going, and my father's involvement with all of his civil rights colleagues all over the country and the NAACP. So this was not a big step in our family life. It was a significant step for me as an individual. And I genuinely felt that once we got the legal barriers taken care of, I would settle in, people would get to know me, and I would have a great college experience.
But it didn't work out that way. Tureaud only spent 7 weeks at LSU. He had been allowed to register under a court order, which was thrown out of court. How did you make the decision to leave?
That was a very, very rough time. I did not choose to leave. I was asked to leave because there was a mistrial. I could not have left on my own. I would not have left on my own. I didn't start this to be a test case, but once I got into it, I knew that a commitment had to be made.
The occasion of the Black student reunion at LSU was a milestone for many who participated, something that the organizers of the reunion found to be an unexpected bonus.
When we started, it was just going to be a party. And the more we looked into how we had developed on LSU's campus, we realized that it was impossible to do that it was important for us to recognize our pioneers. They had undergone just enormous obstacles to attend the university, and it seemed only fair and fitting that we recognize them, and that's where we came with our theme, reflecting on the past to build our future.
I looked forward to the reunion, I really did, and I was very hopeful that a lot of students would come back, because at the time I was here, a lot of students would never have come back, you know, and I'm glad to see that we all have seemed to have gotten a better understanding of those were the times, and you didn't agree with them, but you understood, and that's kind of a healing process. I've been encouraged by everything I have seen here, and actually been overwhelmed. It seemed to have strengthened my character and being. I feel motivated by listening to all the people that have shared similar experiences and seeing how they have gone on in their world and have been successful in all walks of life.
What does this reunion symbolize for you?
To me, it symbolizes a chance to renew old friendships, number one, but it symbolizes a kind of coming home to a place where maybe you always didn't feel welcome, and we were sort of scarce when I was here. But now it's a chance for us to look back and say, hey, you know, we've come through, and there are still kids coming behind us, and there'll be more and more and more, and continually the face of LSU will change.
For me, it's a healing, a catharsis, because I'm one of those people who felt when I left in 1980 that I would never come back again. And this is my first time, 8 years later, coming back on the campus. And it's kind of like having a therapy session with your psychologist where you get to express and to vent all of your angers and frustrations that have built up over the years. And coming back again is a healing for me.
One of the most poignant experiences that I had, and one morning, and I'm going to try to get through this again without getting caught up emotionally, but you know, I haven't talked about this for 35 years. And this is a healing for me. This is a catharsis for me. And I really needed it. Because I'm always with the experience I had. This experience, people say, I guess my dad used to say it all the time, adversity builds character. Well, I had enough character building in those 7 weeks to last me a long time, but there were still some wonderful moments in all of that. One morning, there was also something happening in the dorm all the time. I think the point was to try to get me to lose my temper. So they were banging on the walls, people would put radios in their windows, turn them on all night so that I couldn't sleep too much, see? And I walk in the shower, everybody walks out of the shower, all that kind of thing. And I thought, okay, I'll try to deal with this. So I would get up sometimes and the radios would still be on. I don't know where those guys were sleeping. They must have gone to another dorm. And I would get up sometimes very early in the morning just to go out in the quiet. And I was right near Mike's cage or whatever. And there was also an article about what we ought to do with this guy is have a Roman forum, put him in the stadium and let Mike loose. That was in the newspaper, and I thought, well, I guess you have to expect that from college students. You know. Anyway, my poignant experience in closing is this particular morning, it must have been 5:30. It was beginning to get cool, it was November. And I walk out into this sort of misty morning thinking, oh God, help me through this day. And there was this man standing there in bib overalls, a black man, a strong young black man with a little boy about 6 years old, standing next to my dad's old Ford that he had loaned me for that week. And this man said to me, are you AP? And I said, yes. He said, I've been coming over here as often as I can. I wanted him to see you come out of that dormitory. I want him to know that this is possible. I have never forgotten that.
The AP Tureaud Sr Alumni Association was formed at LSU on the occasion of Tureaud's homecoming. The Black alumni are hoping that it will help establish some history for Black students currently attending LSU and also to continue the healing and sense of unity that began with this gathering. Joining us in the studio today is Kerry Pourciau, a 1973 graduate from LSU. He was the first and only Black man to serve as Student Government Association president at LSU. He now owns his own public relations firm here in Baton Rouge. Kerry, welcome to Folks.
Thank you. Welcome. Thank you very much.
What was it like back in the good old days, or the bad old days as it was, to be one of few Black students on LSU's campus?
Well, I'd have to take you back to that era. It was it was the time of, everyone getting together in sort of this liberal wave, great experimentation period. So unlike the real pioneers who understood racism at every turn, there was not the taunts and the spitting and the whatever else, all of those venomous acts that we know are so well chronicled in the real pioneers' days. Although I think in another sense we were pioneers because we probably represented the first group of students who walked freely and easily on the campus. The problem is it was the subtle nature of the racism that we encountered, where nobody actually said anything to you in the most derogatory way, but that there were the subtle hints at things. So there was the loneliness and the aloneness also of being one of few people. And so you were thrown into this kind of great experiment, as it were.
1973, exactly 20 years after AP Tureaud first walked those halls. Why do you suppose there have not been any other Black Student Government Association presidents at LSU?
I might have just done a lousy job that year, but I don't know. I think actually there has been, to my knowledge, no candidate since that time. It took an unusual sort of group of circumstances, and possibly an unusual person who would say, well, I feel qualified to do this and I aspire to it. I think, if anything, what it shows is that we have probably not done enough to develop leadership among students. And as an active alum, it's an area that I might need to address personally to understand that there are some young men and women on the campus who have leadership qualities and should offer them. So that's probably the problem. There would be a great deal of apprehension about running for SGA president. I would think just if you didn't have the focus on that kind of thing. So.
Well, here we are 15 years later,
right,
and it almost seems as if we're going back to the type of activities that were commoner in the 50s.
Right.
Life goes full cycle.
Oh, yeah,
some
sure.
people feel that if students don't feel a sense of ownership about the university, it's their fault. Do you believe that that's true?
Oh, no, not really. I think that it's incumbent upon the students to become very involved in the, in activities, and they've got to be encouraged to do that. They've got to feel that their best efforts are going to be paid. I mean, that there will be some payoff for their best efforts. So a lot of it is that you've just got to get those who've come before you to encourage you and to help develop it.
Okay, now prior to this particular reunion of black alumni, had you been active in your Alumni Association?
I had, but that's my nature. I mean, by nature, I've been very involved in the university. The past presidents has an organization. I chaired the Legacy of Excellence Committee for that. I was on the original Junior Division Advisory Board for the university. So they see a lot of me, and I try to make my contributions to the university in those kind of ways, tiny ways, but I hope it means something.
But now you'll be active with the AP Tureaud Sr. Alumni Association
right.
as well.
Well, what happened is that just as an active alum, I recognized that this was an untapped market. There was people brought back some of their negative feelings, but they also brought back probably the most brilliant positive statement they could make about the university, that it obviously had done something really good for them, and that whether or not it was our experiences with each other or just the strength and character building that we experienced, people committed themselves to the university. And I think if you could activate the black student alumni group, or rather the alumni all over this country, you could have quite a potent force. I'm especially interested to see it develop as it relates to providing scholarship opportunities.
Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you. Enjoyed it.
Now we move on to the next part of our program. When singer Michael Jackson and various members of his family admitted to having cosmetic surgery, the public at large was outraged. Were the Jacksons trying to obliterate their unique racial identity? That question is still anyone's guess, but we looked into the subject of cosmetic surgery and found that blacks were having cosmetic procedures in record-breaking numbers. In one surgeon's practice, he found that the issue was more economic in nature than racial. Meet Lorraine Howard, a 42-year-old speech and hearing specialist in New Orleans. Her enthusiasm is typical of the woman seeking plastic surgery.
Well, I first considered liposuction in 1982, and I called Dr. Gendler's office and got all of the information that I needed. But I was talked out of it by so many people because they were saying how painful it was, and with so many hazardous things to your health in reference to it, And then because of me being black, the bruises and different things like that. But I finally decided, 6 years later, that I would go in and give it a try because I was so self-conscious when I did try to wear pants, and I did try it, and I looked so bad. So I said, I'm just not going to do it. And one of the nurses at the school where I am, she had it done in the summer, and she came to work. And she looked so great because I saw her the summer before school started. And she had liposuction done. She looked fantastic. And I said, I'm going to do it now. And I called the doctor that same day, made an appointment for that Friday. That Monday, I had it done. It's been about 5 weeks I've had it done. And it was fantastic. Yeah, in fact, after the surgery, when they got me home, they put this long girdle on you. I went home and I put on a pair of shorts over the girdles the same day, and they were falling off the same day. I couldn't believe it. The saddles were gone, and he did my inner and outer thighs and my buttocks. And I feel fantastic. I've never felt better in my life. I can wear pants, shorts, anything. And I've even had a bathing suit on. I went swimming. I had a bathing suit on, and I looked fantastic.
Lorraine had liposuction, one of the newer and most popular cosmetic procedures. It involves the actual suction or removal of fat from the body. These are Lorraine's before and after pictures.
My husband at first said no, he didn't think I should because he had heard so many things. There were some incidents in Houston. They'd heard about some women dying, and I said, well, I really heard so many good things about Dr. Gendler. He really came highly recommended. And I said, well, I'm going to give it a try. But then after he saw me, he couldn't believe it. He was really amazed. And I tell you, I get more second looks on the street and everything. So, but he loves it now. And so many of my friends, they want Dr. Gendler's phone number because they want to have it done. A lot of the teachers at work, they want to have it done. It's fantastic.
Dr. Gerald Gendler is Lorraine's cosmetic surgeon. He has seen a dramatic increase in the numbers of blacks seeking cosmetic surgery.
With television and everybody, whether you be poor or middle class or upper middle class, almost everybody has a television, and everybody is seeing the media, and we're seeing people that we admire. And I don't think you can put it in the class of whether, I think it wasn't so much were black people coming in and having surgery. It was a question, were that economic class coming in, you see? The well-to-do black people always were coming in for cosmetic surgery. If somebody could well afford to have, to drive a nice car or live in a nice home, as long as civil rights allowed and all those new things that have occurred, they took their part of that American way of life, and cosmetic surgery is like apple pie today. I mean, it's a slice of American life. I mean, the numbers are staggering as to how much cosmetic surgery is being done throughout the whole country.
What makes blacks seek cosmetic surgery?
I don't think there's any differentiation. They want all the same things. I would say if you wanted the most common thing today, probably rhinoplasty or improving the appearance of the nose. That's a very, very common request.
The much publicized cosmetic surgery of Michael Jackson and the members of his family has spurred some criticism, but Gendler says that most blacks who seek cosmetic surgery are not attempting to obliterate their black features.
Interesting enough, a lot of people come in and say, I don't want that type of nose. They don't want to really shake their racial inheritance. They want a little improvement. They want a little narrower nose. They want to take away from the flare. They just want to be normal. The more black a person is, the more African, then the more of those features that are present. Now, I will say that a high number of people that I see are trying to shake themselves of that type of connection. Those that have some interbreeding, because we live in a society here in New Orleans and Louisiana that has Creole, has Spanish, has Italian, has Indian blood. So some that have more of these genetics have better possibilities for improving. Some are really not good candidates, and some we just won't even touch. So the noses are very interesting, and they're an interesting thing as a plastic surgeon to get into. There are a lot of little tricks involved in doing these type of cases. I think the new liposuction removal of fat is very common among blacks and whites. I think blacks have taken to it. Blacks need it to a great degree. Sad to say is that their eating habits aren't too great. And they, over the years, have not, they've gotten into the fitness craze, but they still are, a lot of the women that I see are just not, haven't taken good care of themselves. So they're looking for a little easier way, and liposuction does help. In fact, liposuction is very good in the black skin because it's a little thicker in contour and texture. and there is less unevenness after surgery, and so they have a little advantage to this.
The advent of computers has enabled thousands of people to preview the results they can expect from cosmetic surgery without actually committing to an operation. How can a person expect to feel after they've had cosmetic surgery? Is there a big change in their self-esteem?
The reasons why people have cosmetic surgery are obviously they want a change. The change, though, doesn't necessarily have to be dramatic. What most people, in my experience, are really trying to be normal. They want to be average. They don't want to stand out. If you have a bad-looking nose, you don't want to stand out from what your friends look like. If you have ears that point out like this, children make fun of those things, so we'd want it back into a natural position. Even with breast implants, women by nature, majority of them, just want to look normal. If you're undeveloped, they want to reach a point where they feel comfortable with themselves and with their peers. Okay, now the whole concept of age and facelifting and eyelids and things like rejuvenation. Also, people are realistic. They don't want to. If you come in when you're 45 or 50, they don't want to look like they're 20. They want to look good for their age, you see. So those are the concepts of what people are looking for.
How do you see your role as a cosmetic surgeon?
My function is really to make people happy. I mean, it's as easy as that, where I'm not taking out gallbladders and or hysterectomies. That's other people do those things. My field is it's why I chose it, is a very happy field. I give all the credit in the world to those people that deal with cancer research and cancer oncology, and they're tough fields. I couldn't handle that. So my desire, maybe it comes from a bit of artistic likes and whatnot, is to try to create something that I'm going to be proud of first, and that a patient is going to be able to live with and enjoy and get a lot of fun out of it, because that really is what it's all about. And the better I am at it, the better my patients are going to be rewarded.
If you're interested in having cosmetic surgery of any kind, here are some pointers. Ask your family doctor for referrals. Phone or visit each surgeon and ask him to recommend others. Make sure that the surgeon you choose is certified by the American Board of Plastic Surgeons. And make sure that the surgeon is comfortable and familiar with the type of surgery that you seek. Well, that's all for today's program. We'll be off the air for a few weeks while Winterfest 88 is on the air. We'll be busy, though, taping holiday specials and music, as well as our other issue-oriented programs for the new year. So be sure and join us in a few weeks for the next edition of Folks. Bye-bye.